Welcome to the Fellowship Podcast, a place where we get to know the people who make up the Baptist Bible Fellowship. In each episode, we sit down with pastors, missionaries, and ministry leaders from across our fellowship to hear their stories, their ministry journey, and a few lessons they've learned along the way. Our goal is simple: to connect leaders, share stories, and strengthen the mission. And now, here's your host, Randy Harp. Let's join the conversation.
Hey, welcome to our next episode of the Fellowship Podcast. I'm excited to have one of my good friends, Jordan Zeik, on our episode today. Jordan, I had him in several classes at Baptist Bible College and Mission University, and now he's pastoring up in the great Northwest in Spokane, Washington. Did I say that right? Spokane.
Yes, Spokane, not Spokane, not to be confused with Missouri.
Yeah, cannot confuse that. Home of the Gonzaga, I don't even know what their
The
mascot
Bulldogs.
is.
Or the
The
Bulldogs.
Gonzaga Bulldogs. So, Jordan, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me. It was excited when you reached out. So
Yeah, good. Hey, take just a few minutes and introduce yourself to our audience.
yeah, my name's again Jordan Zeik, and up here in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State. Grew up here. My dad was a pastor, and so pastor's kid.
One
Came
of those
to
guys,
Yeah,
right?
I know one of those guys, and now that's what I'm doing. I always thought, I wouldn't, but here I am. But yeah, so I grew up here in this church specifically since I was 5. Came to Liberty Baptist Church. That's where I'm a pastor at. My dad was the pastor before me, and so grew up here all through grade school and everything. Ended up wanted to be a school teacher, and instead of being a school teacher, BBC didn't have that the high school age that I wanted to be. And so, I felt that God was calling me to be a teacher just of something a little higher than just math. And so, went to BBC, now Mission U, for pastoral ministries, focused on that. Obviously, Randy was my, what was it even called?
Your advisor?
Advisor. There we go.
Yeah.
Randy was my advisor, and so got to know Randy and the BBFI, and just created great friendships there. And then back in 23, I guess I'm jumping the gun there.
Yeah, we'll come.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
talk a
well,
bit more before we jump there. So
that's all right.
it's interesting. You're different from a lot of pastors that I know because you were actually going to be a math teacher, so you know math pretty well, and that's not always the strong suit for a lot of pastors.
I would say that it's gone down since I haven't been studying it. Lots of I get my cousins, they're still in school, and they'll give me phone calls, and I'll have to walk them through. And before I do that, I have to say, all right, give me 5 minutes. I've got a review. But it comes back pretty quick.
So
But
should we have some calculus pop quizzes for you on this?
hey, I probably will fail every single one of them, but give me 5 minutes, and then I'll ace them.
So talk about growing up in a pastor's home. What was that like? What kind of experience did you have as a pastor's kid?
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, I hate to say typical for what I've heard from many other pastors' kids, but it was a great experience for me. I never really felt that my dad was ever putting the church before our family, which is great. I think every pastor needs to focus on that. Something I'm focusing myself on, and so it was difficult solely in the idea of the glass house, is that we got to make sure that what we're doing and the things we do and any mistakes we do are going to be in a sermon illustration, or they're going to be seen by people, and we know that we're representing dad. And I also come from just a longer line of pastors. My mom's dad was a pastor. My mom's brother's a pastor. And so I've kind of always just had this idea of you have to act a certain way and do certain things. And so growing up, it was nice of just having the family aspect of the church, but also having my dad really focus on our family, and then kind of let it get to my head, and became a little prideful in some areas, and then fell short in a couple areas myself, and ended up having to come back and understand that my parents were doing the best they could, and that's all I could ask them to do. And so, yeah, it's one of those things in which a lot of people, they say I would never want my kid to grow up in that. I I loved it of being able to go to different churches, meet missionaries. Some actually missionaries that we support have been supporting for years. I get to now, as the pastor here, get to meet them and just engage with them on a different level. And same with our church members, some who have known me since I was 5 years old. And so um, it's nice looking back on it. In the middle of it, it was kind of one of those things in which I'm like, yeah, this is fine, but uh, it wasn't great by a lot of standards, but at the same time, is now looking back, I can see the love and the intention that my parents put into it, and so something that I'm focusing on myself now.
Hey, one of the benefits of being a pastor's kid is you are surrounded by a lot of other pastors usually, or
Yes.
friends, your dad's friends or family, other pastors or missionaries you mentioned. Who were some of the early influencers in your life, or some of the people that really invested in you? Was it
Yeah.
someone at the church, or was it some of the other pastors in the area, or who?
I think some of the biggest ones that I think of is my own family. Just I had my grandfather, the late Dennis Fountain Sr. He passed away a number of years ago, but he was huge just in my upbringing, and then again my uncle Dennis Fountain Jr. over in Moses Lake, Washington. He's been a huge help even just growing up. But then beyond that is even in the BBFI, we've got Dave Class, who just retired over in Helena, Montana.
Mhm.
He was a staple in my childhood of just he's one of my dad's best friends, and he kind of was somebody that we always knew would be around and would love us and to be able to just engage with us like we're normal people and not have to preach at us or anything like that. And so, and then even beyond that is just yeah, our missionaries. I think of the Longneckers, who were BBFI missionaries, I believe, but they come from the Philippines. Who they worked with the Gochers, who is now some of my good friends, the Gochers, and so just kind of looking at the history of people who have had an impact of people who in my childhood that I'm like, oh man, this is cool. They're doing this for the gospel. They're doing it in a different way, whatever it is. And then even people in our own church that our old secretary, who was my dad's secretary when I came back in 2004 here, and she's still in the church and just one of our biggest supporters, loving on our senior community now, and just being a huge just encouragement to me and my wife. And so there's just so many to be able to name that I couldn't even begin to name them all.
Sure.
But yeah, it was definitely great to have. I mean, just the influences that we did growing up is astronomical that people don't get that on a regular day, and so it was great.
Talk a little bit about your ministry journey. So you came to Baptist Bible College, now Mission University. Where did you serve right after you graduated, before you made it back to your home church there in Washington?
Yeah, yeah. So I graduated back in 2021, got married to my high school sweetheart, did long distance for 4 years, which was the worst. But we got married and then spent some time here. Her family's here, my family's here, and so was able to kind of work as not the associate pastor by actual title, but was able to help my dad with some future goals and different things, deciding what to do next. And even he went on sabbatical. I was able to preach for 2 months and kind of be the pastor for those 2 months here, which was great. And then my wife decided she wanted to continue schooling, and so we ended up in Springfield, Missouri again. And Pastor Dennis Mays there at Noble Hill Baptist Church invited us on board with them, and so became the youth pastor there in July of 2022. And then worked there for a year to year and 3 months, and was able to Yeah, really grow there with Dennis. I know he was a newer pastor, had only been there since 2021, so only been there about a year and a half himself. And so him and I kind of growing off each other, we worked together at BBC. We were both in the recruiting department during college, and so great friends. One of my best friends this day. Just talked to him this morning, just about our services, a kind of a thing that we do every week, and yeah, and so being able to grow in just leadership as a whole with one of your best friends was great. And then yeah, and then I ended up here in November of 23, about 2 years ago, because in February of 23, my dad passed away. And so he was the pastor here for 19 years, just 1 week shy of 19 years, passed away. And so it kind of left a hole with no pastor and the leadership kind of figuring out. And I was kind of the go between of I was helping out in many different areas, just virtually. I wasn't there because I was in Springfield and there in Washington, and so helped out as much as I could. But always, even at the very beginning, said don't ask me. I'm set where I am. I'm loving Noble Hill and just the progress that we're making there, and so. But you know never say no to God. And as we were getting towards the point that the church was actually considering new pastors, I got probably about 10 phone calls within the span of a week, just from church members as well as even other pastors. Think of some pastors over in Idaho, Montana. Dave Class himself called me and just said, "Hey, we think that you'd be the best position for this, for to take over for your dad. It'd be great. The people already know you, everything like that." And so took an entire weekend with my wife. Actually, it was our anniversary weekend, and we just prayed about it nonstop. We went on a trip, and this is the only conversation we had. Talked with Dennis and Emily Mays about it, and they encouraged us to at least put an application. And so, long story short, we're here, and we've been here since November 23. So just came across 2 years, which does not feel like it's been 2 years, but at the same time, it feels like it's been 15 years. And so,
Yeah. That time goes by fast when you're there. So 2 years. So I want you to kind of dig a little deeper on
yep.
two different things. So there's a challenge of always going back to serving at your home church. That's a challenge
hmm
in and of itself. So I want you to hit on that a little bit. But first, I know this is an emotional topic. We've talked about this a lot, but
Yeah. Yeah.
talk about the challenge of going back in where your dad had been the pastor and, unexpected, for the whole church. I mean, they went, how long were they without a pastor after your dad passed away before?
February 25th, and I got voted in October 1st. And we
Yeah.
started the process at the end of July. And so they went about how many months is that? About 5 months, 6 months before actually considering bringing on a new pastor. And so
Yeah.
it was a hard time for them. I know.
So how did you go back and try to, counsel the church and being a shepherd to the church
hmm
and while you're still going through the emotion of it all yourself?
Yeah, I don't want to say I did it very well, but looking back, I don't think there was a different way I could have done it. Because the story is my dad. He got diagnosed at end of January with cancer and got the plan in place, and we were about to start. Treatment and everything like that. And a month from diagnosis, a month later, got a call from my mom while I'm still in Springfield, telling me to come on home, and made it there. And about 22 hours later, he passed away. So he was fine and just sleeping in his chair, and talked to me when we got there. And by the end of the day, had passed. And so very, very quick, sudden, and yeah, it was difficult because as as a son, you never want to see your parent like that. But then, even just as somebody who knows kind of church and just the way that things can be, it on my heart is this had always been my home church, and even being at Noble Hill, still love Noble Hill, and would consider it an amazing church and somewhere that I would return to, super quickly if I had the opportunity. But it was one of those things in which even when I got there, as he was passing away, I talked to my mom and just said, "Hey, I think what would be best is, let's call the leadership and have them be able to have their time to come because it doesn't seem like it's going to, be very long now." And so my heart was obviously with my family, but at the same time, somebody I knew had to think about the church. And so we did that. And then my uncle came over from Moses Lake, and we had a meeting with all the leadership, and I was able to again just kind of try to be that in between. Is a lot of our church leadership had never been in church leadership, and it wasn't something they're familiar with. And even though I'd only been in it for about 6 months, I at least BBC or Mission U had prepared me a little bit for kind of the changing of the guard, and just kind of telling them, through my uncle who had helped many different churches as well as kind of went through it himself and went with taking over his church, that him and I were kind of able to go back and forth and just be able to help them through that. But then coming back into our own church, it was really difficult because you have people who loved dad and just loved what he was doing. And, I keep saying it, but I don't know many people who had more conversations about liberty and about what the church was going to be than my dad and I, just because it was what is the path that I've decided that I'm going on is church. And so him and I kind of bouncing ideas back and forth. So coming in, it was pretty easy to be able to say, here's what he was going to do, and to be able to kind of put steps in place. But me not being him was potentially a little bit more difficult for some people than they thought. And so it was definitely we came in with love, and this is where my wife went to school after I left for college. While she was in college, she started attending here, and so everybody loves her and everybody loves me. And but with that, it also came some issues of people thinking that I'm changing what my dad was doing, or they weren't in our conversations, they weren't in the behind closed doors, and just father and son talking about the future of the church. But tried to do our best to just love on them, help them understand. People who have left, we have no hard feelings for it. It's just a matter of their heart and their desire to see their family grow. And if that is something that they feel they need to do somewhere else, then we've fully supported them and just let them leave in as graceful of a manner as we could do it. But yeah, definitely coming in with that experience of already being here at the church and knowing a lot of people, it has caused a little bit more heartache with some people, and just some departures that have hit a little bit harder. But all in all, it's been just a great journey and something that we've loved. And I definitely think that there's no church that would ever accept us and love us as deeply as ours does at this point, especially with how sudden it was. Is I think if another pastor came into this position, it would be a lot more difficult. Probably a lot more people leave. But I think it's been as smooth a transition as it could have been.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt you walked into a tough situation. What's something that maybe you've learned over the last couple of years, being right in the middle of it? You had to learn. You had to learn on the fly, while it was going. If someone else is going to go back to their home church, or if someone else is going to go to a church where, something tragedy had happened before they got there, what's some advice that you would share with them that maybe you learned maybe the hard way?
Yeah, I will say it's definitely been learning on the fly. I mean, I can't count the number of conversations we've had. I've called Kevin Carson countless times about counseling things. I've called other pastors, just all my mentors, David Botts, different things like that over at Mission U, and just talking to them about, hey, how do I do this? How do I interact with this person? Whatever it is, but. I think the biggest lesson I've learned, and I'm still learning, it's been difficult, but is honestly just kind of reiterating the words of Paul to Timothy is, hey, don't forget what you already know and what you've been taught and the things that you're solid in, and just to realize that not everybody's going to agree with you, not everybody's going to have the same base as you, but also realizing that what I'm here for and my purpose here is to shepherd the flock, and just to make sure that the choices I make are not on whims, and they're prayed for, and they're counseled about and different things. And so really just the biggest advice that I would even give to myself is, hey, don't allow the um, don't allow the pressure and the fear of people not liking what you're doing and not liking the paths that you're going to take just because they're different. And as I don't think I've made any decisions that would be that's I would feel as is detrimental to the church or even unbiblical in any manner. But I do know that it's ruffled some feathers for some people, and that's been, I mean, it at the very beginning, first year, that was the biggest thing, is that I'm like, I can't step on a blade of grass without feeling like I'm gonna upset somebody, and that maybe wasn't even a based, like there was no basis for it. People were loving and kind, but just me didn't want to disappoint, and so kind of getting out of my own head and realizing that it's not about me, it's not about what I want and my purpose. It's about the betterment of the gospel and what we can do to continue to further it here in Spokane. And so,
Tell me something that's we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but talk a little bit about what's going on in your ministry right now. What's something you're excited about heading into a new year, starting your third year now? You got 2 years behind you. What's something you're excited about in the ministry?
yeah, we just yesterday we just finalized our 2026 plans. Calendars all booked out. Our new leadership has been put in place, as well as our budget, everything like that. And with the last 2 years of people kind of coming and going, and the changing of the guard, as I've said before, it's kind of left us in, like we were talking about, sort of a revitalization phase rather than just a healthy church that is ready to continue to be healthy. It's definitely taken its toll. Just the heartache of losing a pastor, the struggle of putting in a new pastor, different things like that. And so it's really been the last 2 years focusing on the future and revitalizing. And so now we're at a point, I feel, that everybody who has left, it was going to be the ones who leave. And I think those who are here now are kind of, our current church that's going to stick around for a while. We just initiated two new members yesterday as well, and got a couple more couples coming up, just guests that have been returning and different things. And so excited about the growth of the church. And then even beyond that, this year we finalized and kind of repurposed our mission statements to reach the lost, disciple the saved, and send the called. And so really just making sure that everything we do as a church fits within one of those three areas, is whether we're doing outreach to be able to reach them, we're going through a discipleship book to focus on our church growth, and then even just missions and making sure that we're giving our funds and making sure that we are supporting local missions as well as foreign missions, and just making sure that everything moving forward is kind of cohesive. And it's been something that has been great, something I'm super excited about. We've got don't know the time of this podcast coming out, but when 2026 comes around, we're doing a series just on the church, and just what's our duty as church members, what does it look like to be a church member, as well as just how is it going to be done specifically here in Spokane. And so very excited about I feel like we're on the up of this part of the revitalization. So
It's definitely it's a challenge, no doubt. But I think you're through some of the hardest parts of it, just from many of our conversations we've had.
I
Hey,
hope so.
Uh, let's talk about the BBFI for a minute. So
Yeah.
that's really all you've known. Being a pastor's kid, that your church from 5 years old was a BBFI church, but
Yep.
now you have the benefit of serving as the state rep for Washington,
Yeah.
which is a state fellowship that we're in the process of relaunching. We're trying to get an entire Pacific Northwest regional fellowship up and going. But talk about your involvement in the fellowship, what you've learned about the BBFI, maybe even since you graduated from Mission University.
Yeah. The BBFI it's been a staple in my life. My dad, my mom's parents, that's where they met as BBC back in the 70s, and my dad, he it met my mom. They both met at BBC back in the 90s, and so, this BBC was an easy one to go to for me. But then after I went to Baptist Bible College, then being able to actually see the friends that they've made and the connections that the BBFI has, and then create those my own connections I mean, I've got countless numbers of BBFI missionary friends, as well as now staff members at different churches that are BBFI churches. And it's really, the connection. I think the bond that the BBFI has is, as a kid, I always thought it was pretty deep, but it's deeper than I've ever thought it was. And I think it's great to just see the continued growth. I know that, yeah, after many conversations that we've had about the Pacific Northwest with different state reps over up here, is that we don't necessarily have the fellowship that we want to have here. And there's many churches and many pastors and a couple different fellowships that are around the Pacific Northwest. But being able to hopefully start and get this fellowship rolling in the Pacific Northwest is going to be a great thing, and I'm excited for it. Even just the small conversations that I've had with fellow pastors that are in the same, in the same starting phases of their state fellowship, it's been great, and just friendships that I will hope, last for forever, and I know that many of them will. And so it's just the relationship aspect of it has always been there, but it's deeper now that I'm more affiliated, more known with people in the BBFI.
Hey, let's wrap this up. I want to share just a few things. I call these the quick hitters. I want to share a few things just so I kind of lighten the mood. What is it? Who is Jordan Zeik? So I want to learn about this. So I want to ask you a few things. Tell me what best describes you. All right.
Okay.
So if you had a choice, would you rather read a book or watch a movie?
Read a book. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't see it. My office is, I mean, the walls that you see are the only blank walls that I have. All the rest covered in books, bookshelves. I've got ten cases of books at home with three bookshelves full there. And so reading a book is, the book's always better than the movie.
How many books do you try to read in a year?
Oh,
Do you
I
have a
wish I
goal
could.
or you
I
just
should. No, I just kind of, if I hear of one, somebody tells me of one, I probably should keep track of them. It's probably about 50 to 60 books a year.
yeah.
Just trying to read, a number, one every other week or so. Taking classes, working on my master's degree at Mission U is that definitely helps, because I'm forced to read a few one a week for 6 weeks. So
Yeah. You're kind of forced to. So outside of the Bible, we got to clarify that.
yeah.
What's the best book that you've read?
The best book that I've read. I would say it's gonna sound super cheesy, but I think gospel book, I have to clarify, is that my favorite gospel book is probably Knowing God by J.I.
Yeah,
Packer. Is
yeah.
that I've got anytime I see it in a
That was in
bookstore,
our
I grab
that
it
was in
just
our
because
theology class.
it was one of our, yeah, that, I mean, shout out Randy Harp, recommended a great book. But yeah, Knowing God was a great one. And then fiction, Lord of the Rings is just, I mean, that's peak fiction to me.
Yeah.
It's great. J.R. Tolkien does a great job there. So
Hey, before I just remember this. You probably don't have them where you could grab them and show, but talk about the man in the mirror.
can I grab it real quick?
Yeah. If you get to it real quick. All right. So this is the
Well, it's
benefit
not.
if you're watching it on YouTube versus listening. You're not gonna get this if you're listening on podcast.
Well, it's not Man in the Mirror. That's a song by Michael Jackson. But The Measure of a Man by Gene Getz is a book that my dad, when I was a teenager, growing and making mistakes, whatever it was, he bought me an edition of The Measure of a Man that I've read, and it was a great book. Well, then when my grandfather passed about a year before my dad, I was looking through his books. The pastor Dennis Fountain, he had a version, and then when my dad passed, I was looking through his books, and he had a version, and so I was looking at all of these versions, and you've got three different generations of the measure of a man. That theirs is maybe a little more written in than mine, read a few more times than I have, but yeah, just a great reminder that the gospel transcends generations, and it's something that, and even as a man, is that it's a focus that every man, regardless of age, needs to focus on, and no matter how young, no matter how small, but even again, just the transcending generations, is that the gospel is for every man, and that we are all called for a certain purpose as husbands, as fathers, and just as men leaders in the church. And so it's a great reminder. I keep them right on my bookshelf, right next to each other, so that way I can always, like you said, just grab them right on hand.
Hi, Jordan. This is Gene Getz. Got the story from Randy on the measure of a man. And you have the latest copy with the QR codes. And your dad had another edition. And then your granddad had another edition that was the first one, that little brown one that came out. And anyway, it was a great blessing to hear the story. And sorry to hear about your dad, by the way. But so thankful that you're involved in the church there. And God bless you, my friend.
Now I got to figure out how to edit to say we're a measure of a man and not Michael
Not not
Jackson's
not
song, as
not
you
man in the
pointed
mirror.
out. Okay, so that was good. Here's a couple others. Are you a stay up late guy or do you get up early?
I'm a stay up late guy. I've always it's I think college kind of wired my brain for that. That's when I'm doing my best studying is late at night, just enjoying, focusing on things when I probably should get some rest. But I've never really been an early riser, which I probably need to work on as a pastor. Got need early meetings.
Yeah, yeah, it'll come. It'll come.
Yeah.
Are you a plan everything in detail ahead of time or go with the flow?
I like to say I'm both. I've definitely, over the past 2 years, been a lot more of a plan everything, make sure details are all good, which I feel is a good trait to have as a leader. But I grew up super go with the flow, and I can easily go with the flow. Is one thing that's nice about being a pastor's kid is you get to see when things need to be adjusted, and to learn from that. And so I can go on the flow. I can do anything at any time, as long as I've at least got 2 minutes advance, then I'll be all right. So.
Are you an indoor activities guy or outdoor activities?
I like a good moderation of both. I think I've probably been being a pastor. I'm stuck at a desk a lot as just studying and being able to do that. So it's been a lot more indoor than I'd like. But my wife and I would love to go on walks, go on hikes, get out in the wilderness. If you've never been in the Pacific Northwest, then you wouldn't understand why it's important for us to get out. But it's kind of in our blood that we've got to get out there. If not, then we probably should just go live somewhere else.
Yeah,
So.
I was gonna say Spokane is a beautiful town and area. The waterfalls that runs are right in the middle of town, but
Oh yeah.
you got the mountains all around you. So you're almost forced to have to be outside some,
You're
right?
you're forced to, or else you're not enjoying nature the way you should. You got to get out.
All right, when you're going on road trips, what's your preferred snack, salty or sweet?
Salty. I'm a big Pringles guy when it's on the road, because it's super easy to just reach in the can, grab a couple Pringles, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
can't
that's
go
my
wrong with a
go-to.
can of Pringles, right?
You can't. I mean, a bag of just chips is great, but sometimes you're like having to struggle around for those last couple chips, whereas Pringles, you just dump them out and you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, the bad thing with the Pringles, when you start running out, you can't get your hand all the way down inside. So
Yeah, that's when you just dump it like it's a cup and you're just drinking the rest of the Pringles.
there you go. All right. So if what's a better vacation, going to a theme park or a national park?
National park. I love me theme parks. Roller coasters are the best, but national parks again, just you get the beauty of it. You get to be able to enjoy it. My wife and I, we've got probably soon we'll get a map. We've probably hit 5, 6 different national parks over our 4 years of marriage, and so we're wanting to hit many more.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of those in the we're not far from you, right? I know
There's
California is huge, but then I mean, you go east of you, they're all over, right?
Yeah, you got a lot. You got Yellowstone is the biggest one, and that's a great one to go to, and then
How
just a
far are you
handful
from
of others.
Yellowstone?
We're probably about only about 8 hours, I'd say, 8, 9
Okay.
hours or so.
Okay. Are you a college sports or a professional sports?
If I had to pick one, I'm not really a sports guy. I've got a friend group of pastors and missionaries in which they're all for it. But if I had to pick one, I would say professional sports. I just don't know enough about sports to really have a this or that. But I like to do the fantasy football, and I'm winning this year, and I've never been winning because it's I I'm just not good at it, and
Yeah.
so.
Is everybody in Spokane? Are they Gonzaga Bulldog just crazies?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Gonzaga, obviously, when you're winning, it's easy to support your team, and so
Yeah.
it's nice to have a college team that has done well in the past and is currently doing pretty well, and so we're excited to see how they do, and everybody is huge Gonzaga fans here.
So when you're communicating with people, do you prefer to text them or talk to them on the phone?
I'm a texter. I think it's just my age, only 27. Texting has been my life. It's super easy, super simple. You can have a whole lot of conversations all at once, and you can have them a whole lot quicker than having to over explain everything on the phone. So
Yeah. So as a 27-year-old, what's your go-to texting app? Is it just text or is it
it's just
WhatsApp
text.
or something else?
Nope. No, as few missionary friends have to use some different forms of communication, but texting app is iPhone is the easiest way to go. It's you get the blue bubbles, you make it look nice. It sends
Oh yeah.
immediately and
All those Android people just
all
mess it
those.
up for all of us, right?
Yeah, I know. That's you gotta just switch over to the blue.
All right, when it's time for dinner, would you rather cook and eat at home or go out to a restaurant?
I would rather cook, but the way our life has been the last 2 years, going out of the restaurant's easy. It's a good time to be able to spend with the wife and just enjoy, not having to work for a little bit.
Yeah.
When you're working on a revitalization, she's the children's director here as well as the secretary, so she's just as busy as I am, and so when we can just relax, have somebody else kind of do the meal for us, that's kind of the best thing and easiest thing for us.
All right, if you're going when you're studying for your sermons, do you like a quiet, nice, clean, tidy office like you're in right now, or you want to go to a coffee shop where it's busy and
Ooh.
boisterous and loud and
If money isn't a question, coffee shop's the way to go.
yeah. That's
But
what a
no,
Washington
if
guy would say, right? Is
it
you got to
it
get your
is we got we
coffee.
got all the coffee here, but you don't understand. I just cleaned my table for this interview, and so you should see the front. The actual desk it's covered in papers, receipts, there's all sorts of different things because I'm a messy, organized person. I know where everything is, but if you saw it, it's just a mess.
Well, that desk was nice and tidy whenever I was there for your ordination. It was all nice and clean then too.
Again, I got to put on a show for some people. They can't see what works inside my mind all the time.
So do I need to go back and change my signature on that ordination
Probably,
certificate?
probably.
All right, last one. You got one meal to eat the rest of your life. Are you eating pizza or tacos?
Oh, I'd probably have to say pizza. It's an easy go-to.
Yeah,
Tacos are great, but
that's the
pizza
youth
is just
ministry still coming out in you, right?
yeah. I was gonna say you don't get tired of it. You can share it with you make the super small slivers, make sure it stretches for a little bit, and it's just the easiest go-to.
Yeah. All right, I lied. I got one more for you. As a Washington guy, where it's coffee snubs or coffee snobs, what's the best go-to coffee shop?
The best go-to coffee shop. Well, for studying and everything, we've got a place called Little Garden Cafe here, just about 3 blocks from me. That's where I have meetings. That's where I do things. But then a stand. We've got a coffee stand that I love. My dad loved. They knew his order. They knew his name, and it's the perfect. Yeah, perfect start here. And that's also just about, it's on my way in. And so it's not good for me because then I just grab a coffee and it spends a little bit of money. But,
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, it's great coffee shops here. If you haven't been to Washington, you got to come up. I'll put you up and I'll take you to coffee.
there you go. Sounds good. Hey, Jordan, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us on this episode. You have any last words of wisdom before we go?
I don't, but I just thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to hear all the rest of the stories. I love getting to know my fellow believers, and especially the state reps. I'm excited to hear all the other interviews.
Well, Jordan, I'm proud of you. Appreciate you on our friendship and excited for what God is doing in you and through you up there in the Pacific Northwest. And everybody listening, thanks for taking the time to join us on this episode of the Fellowship Podcast. God bless.